What's up, everybody? It's Build in Public, episode 11D billion. I don't know. I do so many different ones as Learn in Public, Build in Public, DevRel chats. And then VGF does, what are you calling yours?
Well, so I haven't you leaked the interviewing the interviewer
Oh
one
my
on the last
God,
stream.
that's right.
But we haven't gone live with that one yet. So I've done a couple of more themed kind of interviews. The most recent was with Christy. I haven't announced who the next guest is yet. But
Is it Brooke J. Lacey?
you will have to come on and we'll do a little more because these have been pretty generalized, but
Yeah, people can't get enough of the Brooke J. Lacey VGF Build in Public
combo.
Okay, no. Shh.
Have a couple more lined up for next week that I'm excited about, so it'll be good.
Good.
And then all the gaming stuff too. So
yes, tell the audience. First of all, Build in Public. I have already explained to VGF this, but I've been building computers since they were a thing, or at least like taking them apart, putting them together. Like I used to, a little known fact that like I actually really love electronics and was like doing that. I wanted to be like an electrical engineer. Not sure why I didn't go down that road. But my company, the first one I started in 2009, Tech Savvy, we built computers. And like I had one of the reasons I started a business was because I was a single mom and I always just like didn't understand dropping your kid off at 6 a.m., picking him up at 6 p.m. and going to a corporate job. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna start my own business. And then he would just come with me to the shop. And so he would be there and like build stuff. And I had interns and we'd be like repairing computers and stuff. And so Broden would always help me with building these computers, just even personal ones and just stuff that we were at the house doing. And so he's a gamer like you. He games on the computer. And I mean, you know this, but I'm telling the audience like he's computer gamer. That's just what it's called, right? And then
sure.
like if you're on the Xbox, you're an Xbox gamer. So he's been kind of like I bought all of his stuff. And so I wasn't like 3 years ago, I wasn't gonna buy him a, $2,000 graphics card. He got what he got. And he was, don't throw a fit. You got a really nice setup because mom liked building computers. So over the last few weeks, he has purchased a bunch
A
of
monster
very,
of a
very
PC.
a monster of a PC, all these parts, and they all got there yesterday. We went over to my parents, his grandparents, and built it. But he got a water cooler. He got like all of the stuff that I honestly had not used before. But the problem was that I all of a sudden was like, oh shit, like I'm responsible for this kid that just spent like e- everything just started spinning and he's got this thing out and then he's pulling the water cooler and he's excited and I'm like, you're going too fast. Like stop going so fast. Like he was just literally like with the screwdriver screwing down the cooler and I'm like, it's too fast. You're going to break it, and then he gets this 5090 out. And I mean, the thing is,
It's the size of a small computer.
it's wild. And like, I didn't even know. I didn't think it was going to fit on that board. And so halfway through, we'd been doing this for like 3 hours, and I didn't think it was going to fit on the board. And that was the last piece that went in. And I was like, "Oh shit, is this going to not? Did he buy the wrong board? And so it was very stressful. So I couldn't sleep last night because then I thought it's like you have to carry this thing up the stairs out to your car and then back to your place. And, I'm like, he's going to drop it or, something's going to happen and he's going to call me in the middle of the night. And, there goes all this money. And because really, when you buy computer parts, there's no returning it. You really can't return a used CPU that you just burned up.
Yeah.
You just can't. And I've tried. There's no like warranty. You put it on the wrong thing and the pins bend, you're done. So, built that, not in public. I did get some video, but he was more like, "Let's just kind of, document this for our
Lock
own
in
sake."
and yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And I just feel like it came full circle, you know? That little, like, 10-year-old kid that was like, "I don't put this memory in," now is, like, built a fucking monster gaming computer. That being said, Borderlands is coming out.
Yes.
He also is going to be playing that. Apparently, you get it for free with a 5090. I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Give him something for free." So that's happening tonight. Tell us about Borderlands, Mr. Video Game Freak.
Well, so my buddy Burning Bush had gotten me
Mhm.
into Borderlands on the last release. So we had played Borderlands 3 together, and with this new one coming out, we're going to be doing some co-streaming or like
Mhm.
multi-streaming. And I believe we've figured it out. We've got to test it this afternoon, but we've gotten it to where we're going to feature both POVs of our gameplay
Right.
in the same stream. And so since it's a co-op game, there aren't as many PvP style games, first person shooters, that kind of stuff, are really popular for live streaming. And I think Borderlands is an interesting kind of co-op opportunity to feature like multiple POVs as we're
I
they'll see it.
realize this is probably not the best. Like, it's just an image that you sent me, but,
Yeah.
it looks cool, and you've got it, like, in 2 different, um
We've got it split, so, like,
yeah,
horizontal format for Twitter and X, and then we'll have vertical format for, like, Instagram and TikTok. So, really
yeah,
excited for that because, 1, it's, a game that me and, a good buddy of mine are excited to play together, and
yeah,
then, also because 'cause we're effing around and trying some pretty cool techie shit for the live stream.
and you're gonna play sometimes with Broden. He said, as long as he laughs at my jokes. I'm just like, "Oh, that
I'm sure it'll
means"
be good.
Do you think that BGF doesn't laugh? I don't know. Um, do you think that Borderlands is that, like, the same amount of excitement as Battlefield? Is it, like, just different
It's a very different
play?
It's a very different well, and it's a different style of game too, because like
Yeah,
it's less like who's the best, gamer in the world or like,
yeah,
who's the top of the leaderboard, and it's more um playing versus yourself or like just improving for yourself in a sense.
yeah,
Because like you have your own character progression, but then in the co-op mode, you and your teammates, can play through the storyline together. So it's more of like playing through the story, beating the game, but then that's
yeah,
like kind of when the real game starts because then you got all the cool goodies and gadgets and you're like high enough in level that you've got like the whole skill tree built out and stuff. And um, it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
good. And it comes out tonight. You're gonna stream on, Twitch and X,
All the
right?
things. Yeah. Well, we're gonna try. We'll see. We'll see how it
Yeah,
goes. But um, yeah, stream to X, stream to Twitch, and then vertical format. We're gonna try Instagram and TikTok and see how it goes.
yeah.
Whether or not we can do all of that concurrently while streaming multiple POVs is to be determined, but we're gonna try.
Fuck around and find out.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Do it live. I wish I had that, like,
Sound clip.
just, like, ready. Yeah, maybe you can do it in, like, the scenes where you have it, like, ready, and then you just switch to a scene, and it's just like, "Fuck it, we'll do it live." And I also need to find that sampled house music song, whatever, EDM song that samples that. It's the greatest ever. Okay, maybe not the greatest ever, but also, the AVAX spaces that, was going on last week, I was asked to speak on that tomorrow, so that'll be cool. That's at 2 Eastern,
Well, because yeah,
1
I know
o'clock.
they had one last week, but you were still traveling at that
Well,
point.
I
So
got back, and then I was just like, I was in there and then I was talking to my mom and doing whatever. And then I go back to it and there was a speaking request. And I'm like, oh, that was rude. Like I didn't go in somebody, I think Vo sent me a speaker request. Well, whatever. Um, yeah, I was a little off anyway. So, what else? Just working on, there's some job prospects out there that, yes, I'm, like, doing a lot of ambassadorship stuff and different content contracts, but there's a lot of jobs hiring. There's not a lot of people a lot of companies hiring right now. I was talking to Rachel Sachs, no, not Rachel S yeah, Rachel Sachs, and, like, she's been working with Hype agency, um, but there's a lot of these, like, marketing roles and, um, CT lead and content roles. But what I'm finding is you have to have a broader breadth breadth, right? I'm so tired. Did you just send me a private chat? You can't oh, I don't know what's happening. Uh, I don't know what's happening. What was I saying?
Breadth of social media.
Should I not continue with that? I guess
No, it's
I'm just
fine.
saying, that they're not looking for people who just understand Twitter. Like, as much as you wanna see that online and, I don't know if it'll piss off other CT leads or whatever, but I'm just saying that it's not enough to just know how to, like, speak to people on Twitter. Um, gotcha. It's like you have to, um,
They're looking
you have
for people with exposure on
yeah,
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, what have
yeah.
you. Yes.
And not even just personal brand, or it could be, like a lot of times with these positions that are open, they're surprised to know that there's, content on other platforms. Like, I have to usually send that information out first. Like, oh, have you seen my, TikTok from 2020? So they have to start thinking about that too, because they're realizing it's just an echo chamber. So I'm just telling people that it's not enough to just know how to shit post on Twitter. It's just not.
Well, and
And
and I think that was kind of what spurred the conversation on the timeline this morning. Do you want to pull up a couple of those
yeah,
tweets?
I will.
Um, which I thought was really interesting, and I've been kind of preaching similar for a while, because I think when people see some of these outward facing roles, um, obviously ICO Beast and Bread Guy being a couple of the more prominent, but like in my mind, I'm thinking, Camel or Vo or even, to some extent, some of these creators with their own collections, platform, products,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, like Easy and PO and some of these guys. Um, they are very outwardly facing, and I think a lot of people presume that the content that they see on the timeline is the full extent of their roles and responsibilities,
right,
but the
right.
reality of it is goes much deeper than that, in many cases, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure that there is some some areas of gray there where in some ambassadorship type roles, they are just looking for distribution, for content, for awareness, things like that. Uh,
right.
but when we see this headline of kind of the quote unquote CT lead and everything that entails, I think the scope of work goes much much wider than just creating content or shit posting on X.
So I
Um,
haven't actually read this. I know that ICO Beast has a really big presence. And I haven't been well, I read the stuff that, like, you sent me, but, I just have been super busy with other stuff. So he's saying the biggest misconception, on CT, which I agree is terminally unemployed user base, is that being employed at a legitimate crypto company with some outward facing roles, CT lead, mindshare, whatever you want to call it, means you just sit on X all day and shitpost. The reality is there are very few people qualified for these roles. I disagree. I 1000% disagree. Because they're actually legitimate professional jobs that require accountability, reliability, tons of hat role juggling, and execution on internal things in addition to being a public mouthpiece amplifier. All right. The things you see on
What
X.
is it as part of that that you disagree with?
I find that a lot of people, I'm not gonna just call, him out. I don't know him. I only know what I read online. Um, I think there are way more people qualified for the roles than people understand. They're just not on X. And they're not like, you know,
Well, and I think
pushing.
he's categorizing that as part of the CT terminally unemployed users that are not, not those people. There are plenty of people that would be
Mm,
qualified, as project managers, as, social media
right.
leads, as directors of marketing that simply aren't within the sub niche, within a niche of crypto Twitter.
Yeah, okay. I see that, and I think what he's saying is, like, people are like, "Oh, you're just a CT lead," and think that that's all there is to it, and I
Mhm.
get that, but what he's also saying is there's very few people qualified for the roles, um, because there's all these other things involved, but, like,
Yeah.
where's the market research behind that? That's all I'm saying is, like, where
I think
what
he's, kind
based
of,
on what?
well, just playing on the kind of caricature of the like typical CT user, or
Yeah,
like the degenerate gambler that, may not be as responsible with their time, or, showing up on time, or
yeah,
professionally accountable, uh,
okay.
that like we're in a legitimate, position with a well-established company, you would have expectations of you that go beyond the scope of just shit posting on Twitter.
Okay,
And so
but,
going, okay, go ahead.
eh, like, I think I'm just tired and I probably do need to just keep my mouth shut, I guess, but I don't like this whole I'm way better than you because I can do all these other things. Like it just comes across that way to me with a lot of these types of posts where it's like um he's saying again whoever's watching, I'm sure that he knows who I am or whatever. I'm not trying to be like personally against this. This is a way that I find a lot of people are where it's like I was given this fancy role because I'm able to do it. Not many people are. It's like, well, okay, like a gigantic piece of your job revolves around strategy and execution plans, all internal for the future. Nobody sees any piece of that until the plans actually roll out. Like that is actually just business. Like I've been around for a really long time and none of that has to do with just simply Web3. The only piece of any of this that's like, not many people can do is the Web3 sort of like crypto culture, keeping the mind share going. But to say
I
that
would
like,
agree with that. But
you
like
know,
in I would say it's in that, like, one, you've got to be tuned in with like a crypto native audience, which there's only like of those in CT that are like as hyper tuned in and able to cater to that audience,
mhm,
that are also then able to articulate and plan, strategy, go to market, social media strategy, that kind of stuff. It
mhm.
does it does narrow that, available list of talent down significantly.
Okay, let me ask you this. If somebody if a person like this has this job, what point does this post do for his company and his job? Like, I I want to know about it less now. I don't understand what it has to do with the company he's representing. And I'm not saying that a lot of people do this. That's why I think Vo does it really, really well because she talks about things in terms of what she's representing, and not just, hey, look at me, I got this job and I'm the greatest and whatever. Um, I
Well,
I don't know.
I think this is probably a poor example in that it was an anecdote of a conversation he was seeing on the timeline around, CT leads and their like a common misconception of their roles and responsibilities. If you pull up
Mhm.
the bread guy one, I think it goes into a little more depth of um his
Okay.
experience, which
And
and granted,
yeah.
there's a lot of shades of gray here, and this is, I think, one of the issues is that there's a lot of companies, brands, projects that are looking for that quote unquote CT lead, but may
Yeah.
not understand what it is or clearly defining what it is that they're looking for or what is expected of them. And I think that's where a big disconnect is. So Bread Guy talked
Yes.
about his experience of he's brought on as this quote unquote CT lead, but then it's like, okay, well, now you're the de facto chief marketing officer. You're the head of community. You're the director of outreach.
Let
You're
me read through it first because I
Go ahead.
don't yeah, just and then give me your oh, I see. Okay. So let's start with this one. I don't know who this is. Looks like somebody who
Spread of
I
word.
always look at like who these people are because like why should I listen to someone? Honestly. It's the same thing with like it, it, somebody saying I know how to grow on TikTok, and then I go and they've got 500 followers. Or even I know how to grow your company on Twitter, and I go and they have 1,000 followers. Like, you have to show me that you've been able to do it for yourself, or at least have something in there that shows what you have done. I said it on a space a couple weeks ago about like I used to talk about the 18-year-old motivational speaker. I no longer do that because there's tons of 18-year-olds that have life experience that could be like extremely motivational. But show me what you've done before I take that seriously. And this is coming from someone who's been around a while, and sorry for being a broken record, but anyway, so this person, DeFi Maxi, a creator for Play Gigaverse. Okay. A community lead. All right, cool. All right, what does he have to say? Also like Anon, right? Like I don't know who this person is. I'm doxxed as fuck, so I have somewhere to stand on that. Um, what does CT Lead do? They just get paid 20K a month to twiddle their thumbs. My Web2 interpretation of CT leads are that they're like product managers and tech companies. They take in user feedback through responses to their content. Okay. So that means in the echo chamber. And they identify user sentiment, which in crypto, the user is pretty much CT, learn CT needs and problems to guide what gets built, enable their companies or organizations to make the best possible decision based on their CT leads understanding of CT. Okay. Alignment of stakeholders. Um, so traditional PMs work cross-functionally with all of the teams, and CT
I
leads will
do
have
like
to align CT
I
culture.
like that analogy.
I
Like
do too.
the relation to like a project
Yeah,
manager, working across engineering, marketing, design,
agreed.
product to make sure that like everyone's aligned. I do kind of like that vision or that analogy. Um,
I do too.
though I would say that like not all CT leads are going to be required of that or like
Right,
equipped to do that. But in my
right.
experience, it has been a value add.
I mean, and you can speak to it from your past experience as well, because that was a lot of the part of like work that you did previously,
It
with
wasn't with
community
that. It
building
wasn't
and
with the title of CT lead,
right,
but that was effectively what
right.
it was. Yeah. Like
I
back in
mean, running
2021,
spaces is
back in
yeah,
2021, back in my day,
yeah,
I mean, Dean's
exactly.
kind of paved the way of, kind of the director of vibes. It was like, what the fuck does that mean? Well, it's like essentially you're the, permanently plugged in, curator of
Yeah,
what, community sentiment, engagement with the timeline, social media, helping write copy, helping to plan, go to market strategy, like it kind of was this very ephemeral type,
mhm,
there wasn't a like hard constraint on like what is or isn't expected, but like you kind of just plugged in anywhere and everywhere, and you were kind of like the glue that helped take, whatever product and plug it into crypto Twitter.
yeah.
Um, and so I think that that analogy kind of does ring true in my experience, but that's not going to be the same thing as, a brand advocate, or a content creator that's doing an awareness campaign or something like that.
Right.
Um, and that's where, again, I think where a little bit of the disconnect in understanding of some CT users' assumption of, this person just shit posts, and you know like I think Camel's a good example here, because Camel, like, almost notoriously or infamously is like, oh, have you heard of Sugartown, or like all of his
Right.
kind of memes around Sugartown.
Right.
But I know through having worked with him, that a lot of his roles and responsibilities behind the scenes go much deeper than just copy pastaing "Have you heard of Sugartown" all day
Yeah.
on the timeline. Um, so yeah, and sorry, if you will go back, I think that Bread Guy's add to that um, was valuable.
So yeah, I wanna read through that. Oh, now I need glasses on. Um, the the thing that started it really did start with this idea that, like, this person has this perspective, um, that yes, he's the CT lead, but the current job is far more than just tweeting. Like, he felt it necessary to explain that, and then this guy, comes on saying
Expounded upon
the
that.
above yeah, the above would re so then he was talking about these 3 things that would need to happen, and must have high signal. Think about conducting surveys where you'll always get more than 1,000 participants, clear communicators, and strong culture fit. So ultimately, you need people that can read CT sentiment and CT culture and are smart and ideally some technical chops and can work long hours uh, and are quick on the uptake and communicating upwards and downwards. The only thing that's different with this and like a different, regular job or regular industry is that it's talking about crypto. Like
Yeah.
that's okay. So going back
But
to
I agree with your previous point of like there are kind of those people, and like plenty capable people
yes,
able to like perform that function, but they
right.
are going to be missing that cultural piece of,
Absolutely.
not necessarily being plugged into crypto
But
Twitter.
I feel maybe I'm wrong, but that's not what he's talking about. He's just saying he's like defending the fact that people think that all he does is shitpost, and it's like, what benefit is that bringing us? Sorry, not sorry. Like, I realize that like in my world, doing like DevRel content and technical content, me posting about ToshiBet because I like gambling has nothing, does nothing for me on everything else. But it's
Mhm.
just like this fun thing. But I would never then go and talk to people about how like the guy that DM'd me was like, "Are you just, an advertising, like, are you just an ad now?" And I'm like,
Are you just a shill? Yeah.
Like, what if I was? Like, it doesn't matter. I don't have to defend anything I'm doing, and I
No,
feel
but I think it
maybe
came
that's the
from
word I'm
that
looking for.
comment.
Sounds
I,
defensive.
yeah, and I think it is a little defensive because I think it was coming from that response of like, "Oh, I thought you just had this easy gig." And
Yeah,
it's like,
I get it.
yeah. And so if
He
you go
felt like
back
he had
one,
to explain.
yeah.
Okay, this
Well,
is
and
Brad, guys.
I from my POV, it was more so the conversation that came out of it, like the
Yeah,
replies and the reposting and the additional commentary is where it got a little
totally.
interesting.
Okay, so Brad Guy, also think, he's fantastic. I think there's also something to be said about having an innate ability. Brad Guy has a very innate ability to research and write, and it
His
comes easier to
visualizations
him.
are fantastic.
Right, like, incredible. Um, I find it the same with people are like, "How do I do things on TikTok?" And it's like, I can't teach you how to be funny. I can't teach you how to have a personality. Like, you have to find what works for you. And so, you may not be as good, just whom I'm saying to whomever, you may not have the same innate ability or talent as these other people, but you do it in your own way.
Yeah,
Like, and that will take off. So don't think you have to be like these people in order to be
agreed.
successful at a CT lead or whatever job. So,
Well, and that's where I think sort of the umbrella of like there's far too many CT leads and yet
yeah,
so few CT leads. Like uh, there
right.
are there are infinitely more jobs of like and I have a deep appreciation and respect for like I have encountered some of these, brands in my time of they'll just make a position for the right person
Yeah,
because whatever value you can, provide and add is going to be worth it, whatever that title may be. Right.
right.
And so, like, I think there's a lot of people coming in under this umbrella of like quote unquote CT lead, and they may end up falling under socials in marketing. They may fall under content and
Right.
awareness. They may end up going over on the community side. They may, get into the company and find that they've got a passion for product, you know. Um,
But don't you
but
think
like,
this all stemmed from the InfoFi thing and these companies paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for these campaigns and realizing that the only real way they're going to get, benefit from that is to hit these people who have like organic reach like ICO and VO and whatever and get away from the AI slop. So they're like, okay, we see that we've invested all this money into InfoFi, into Kaido, and we need to have a return on our investment. So we're going to create this CT lead to be able to get this mind share. Like it's a big, vicious circle. Um, and
yes and no,
really
because
just speaking
I
to
think like
one chamber.
I think in theory you're right that like there was this big push for everyone pushing to Kaido and InfoFi and, spending a ridiculous amount of money for these reward pools. And then they're just getting
Right.
farmed by all these bots. And then you're like combating the AI slop and like how much return are you actually getting for that investment?
Yeah.
And so there is kind of this pushback in the other direction of having this legitimate, trusted voice being that kind of amplifier and that megaphone for your awareness, your message, your product, whatever. um but just kind of like tuning into what you had said, what a couple of these thread orders had said, of like there's a lot of people hiring for this right now, and I don't know that the talent pool runs that deep, that there's
100%.
going to be a lot of people that are brought into this CT lead role where the expectations are not clearly defined, where
Yeah.
their ability to communicate that message is either unclear or overstated. Where maybe they had a hit banger tweet, but then they're
Right.
they are just going to shit post on the timeline 24/7 and not anything else.
I know I keep going, but I talk about myself because it's what I know, and I've been doing it a really long time, and people always look at the follower count and the likes on TikTok, and they're like, "Oh, well, we wanna pay you to do all this." I've turned down so much shit because I'm like, "I'm not gonna get you the ROI you think that I'm gonna get you."
It's
I've
like,
been able
okay,
to build my
the
own
followers
personal
are
brand.
there or the likes are there, but, like, what's
Right.
the conversion?
Right, like, again, you have to build it yourself to be able to get that audience, like, I built the audience because of personal stuff, being funny or, whatever the case is, and then being able to teach, so you're that I can consult you on, but I can't go, "Hey, pay me $25,000 and I'll do a video and it'll go viral and you'll get all this money." And I also think, like, or not money, but, like brand awareness and all of that. That's why a lot of these times I'm telling people who are content creators, when you get a brand deal, you don't do it by, certain KPIs, especially on a video application like TikTok. There's not a lot of link clicks. You're literally getting their attention, getting it into their brain, and then they move on. They're not leaving TikTok. So I, had to turn down a couple of things where they were like, "Well, we'll pay you based on how many link clicks." I'm like,
Click-throughs,
"I can
yeah.
guarantee you click-throughs." Yeah. I can guarantee that's not gonna happen, so no, thank you. But the
Well,
other
but
thing too is like
can I add something there? Because, like,
yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah,
I have an appreciation for you saying no and turning down those deals when,
yeah.
it's not the right fit. But
Right.
because I've been on the other side of that where I'm being, sold to by either like a creator or
Yes.
an agency, and
Yes.
I ask for some of those things, like, what are your
Right.
very basic Web2 marketing type stuff, like what are your
Yes.
average views, your click-through rates, your, conversions look like, what are your,
Yeah.
just fairly what would, otherwise be fairly standard practice.
Mhm.
And I had been told that, like, by multiple agencies that, like, that's not something they provide, which one
Right.
part of which I get if you're like buying into, a broad marketing awareness type of campaign. You're not going to promise, certain amounts of views or what have you. But like not being able to provide click-through rates, conversion rates, stuff like that for
Agreed.
stuff that you have like use or like example cases for
But I
is a
think
little
then
ridiculous.
companies need to understand that they should be asking for other things, and that's what I've tried to explain to a lot of brands is like, "Let me show you the audience and, like, what has been able to be done outside of key metrics and how many followers. Like, why did those followers follow me? Why
Yeah.
did,
But as
why
a
are these
creator,
certain videos"
you're making that appeal. You're making that
Right,
pitch, and you're shifting
right,
it to, like, match the expectations, or if it's not a
right.
match, then you're, turning that deal down. Whereas I do see it kind of bringing this back around to the CT lead thing, that there's gonna be a lot of those brands that take a stab at, like, "Oh, we need a CT lead,"
Mhm.
and they're going to end up with either, just one of those many categories, which may or may not be a great fit or not. But I just don't see it being the ideal circumstance in a lot of scenarios where they're like, we need a CT lead because that's what everyone's rushing for, and
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, it's
they
meta.
yeah, and that they need, to make that partnership announcement so that they have a head of CT. Um, but they're gonna end up being, just the shit poster on Twitter, or the like.
Yeah,
If they end up falling into any of those categories, let alone, all of them for any, prolonged amount of time, I would think that would be a win. So like finding a CT lead that is able to double dip and multitask in, any of the above categories, in my opinion, would be, that value add beyond, just the social stuff.
let's go through this, and then I think this will probably go to another point to make, which is like explain what the job is so that people can get better at it. Explain, don't post via your ego, post via like helping other people succeed because you want other companies to be able to hire somebody just as good as you. That was something that was really important to me years and years ago, which was like mentoring women in tech, girls in tech, to be, as smart as possible, like to have the same skills or like desires. If they do, then to have the right skills and the same skills, whatever. That's for me a better perspective. And I think Bread Guy, so he's saying it's great interpretation of how CT lead starts as a role. It very quickly deviates from that because you have to contribute to the organization, which means expanding to other roles. At this point, my role is literally chief marketing officer. So like that's not what he started with. That's now what he has because he put in the effort to do what they think a chief marketing officer does. Um, Getting to this point, he drifted through Yapper, which is a CT lead. I mean, is that right? Community lead, business development, that's another one that, can run the gamut. Intern, and then a go-to-market consultant. That's a lot of stuff to master to be able to get to CMO, and
Yeah.
you haven't even really had
And that's where
C-suite level
I don't think
jobs
that's like a
before.
realistic. I don't think somebody that sees that roster or resume would then hire for a CT lead and expect
Right,
that from them. Like, not
right,
every CT lead is going to be a bread guy. Not every CT lead is going to be able to do what I did or what Vo has done,
right,
or like it. They're each going to have a different journey or a different skill set and be able to bring different things to the table.
right,
Are they all going to be able to hopefully be able to like leverage their network and their connections to, broadly be able to grow that mind share and awareness and like foster some of those business, development kind of conversations? You would hope so. That's kind of like, in my mind, the core focus of broadly a CT lead. But
yeah.
would they be able to then niche down or pivot or transition into any or all of these roles? That's a tall ask. And again, I think that just goes back to uh, clearly defining roles and expectations so that you can have that, baseline to work off of, and the ability to have them grow into what other areas of the business they may be able to.
Yeah, and he even says like, it's unique to the business and its own internal needs. Again, so much of this is not Web3 native. I mean, the only thing that comes out of this is this. And honestly, I don't know. We talk about CT lead. Well, there's also Twitter, there's also political Twitter and journalism Twitter and tech Twitter and DevRel Twitter. Like there's still mind share there. It's just different because of InfoFi, in my opinion. Um, so then he's talking about specifically with the DAO, and then um, he's grateful to that. Um, Also owning okay, wait. I'll forever be thankful of that because it gives me traditional skills in this space going forward while also owning my social presence, which is diminished in the same way that ICO Beast has. You just have more tasks and lose touch with D2D CT convos. Okay.
The day to day.
If I were
Yeah.
to no, I know.
No,
Um,
well, just, yeah,
you're
translating.
cute. Um, yeah, I don't think people actually do say that. Uh, D2D. If I were to build out a fully fleshed out team today, knowing the importance of a CT lead role, it'd be like this: CMO coordinates the below, CT lead interfacing with the community on X, design team, production of campaign assets, and then an intern running socials, an intern vibe optional. Um, I think the above structure will become the norm over the next few years.
And
Um,
I think that's kind of just drawing the distinction and potential role differentiation between like a chief marketing officer, head of
right,
strategy, head of, like Web2 go to market, Web3, strategy, versus somebody that is like, a social media, like head of social media, that's writing your, day-to-day tweet copy, or like, some
Right.
of that those could be different roles. They aren't necessarily going to be the same person. A lot of what I see as like Bread Guy's kind of professional evolution there is like a CMO or a COO potentially type of skill set, but not
Yeah.
every CT lead is then going to incubate and grow into that CMO, COO type role.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so that's where I thought like the broader, like the evolution of the conversation was much more fruitful than like, oh, I thought you had an easy job. It was like I liked that, people have added their 2 cents, and that it's gone, a lot deeper, and I think has maybe corrected some people's misunderstanding of like what the expectations of some of these roles are.
Yeah. He says, like, current landscape has a few heroes trying to do all of this. Um, yeah. Like, I think a lot of people have the potential to do these things. Um, and I think that maybe they're better at, well, first of all, I don't think there's enough video content. And I know that it's hard to do video content and different types of things that don't get attached to the algorithm for like Kaido,
Yeah.
um, payouts. Because frankly, that's where all of this started, even with like ICO Beast. I actually didn't know of him until just a few months ago. But when I went back and read, like him and a few other accounts were really heavily into explaining to people how to benefit from InfoFi and
InfoFi, and
yapping
yeah.
and virtuals and all of that stuff. So that's where the come up was. And again, putting it back to myself, like I was able to build an audience because I was making them laugh by ogling shirtless lumberjacks. Like that isn't, and so meaning they started out with one thing that was really hooking people in, and now that isn't what they're doing. So
Well, and it was
you're
also a different time when you like
yeah,
grew a lot of your audience in like COVID era TikTok,
yep.
versus a lot of your more recent content of the educational type, like outward focus type content.
I mean, there was still educational stuff back then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I do less of the funny stuff now.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
But I do think that
Old and tired.
kind of leads well into the X algo kind of
Yeah.
topic.
Okay. So, oh, okay. Let's actually go back to the first one that you sent. Well, this is just a screenshot, but this is part of the X algo that you're getting like shadow banned or whatever. The high crypto spam score. I think I'm probably having a little bit of this because of the things that I'm talking about a lot. And I think there's been some other like just account problems with the yapping and
People feeling
who
like
was
they've
this?
been shadow
Yeah,
banned, or
yeah,
uh, even penalized, whether it's in reach or their account restricted, or like, yeah, I know Alex has been a huge proponent, or kind of like, loud voice on like the
yeah,
do's and don'ts, or
yep,
what to avoid the minefield to try and avoid.
And I didn't even know, like I've posted a few things that are like NSFW, like the sexual tension between, the all-time high and Ethereum or whatever. Like, is that, do I need to stop doing that? But then also like there's a lot of NSFW content. Like there's PORN on Twitter. So that has like millions of views. So I don't
Yeah.
really understand that. Are they getting
Well,
rid
but
of that? Like I
no,
don't
I think it's just for like, and it's like a push pull, right? Like the most engaging content, I think, naturally rises to the top, but it may not be via the for you algo, the
yeah.
not safe for work, text. I'm guilty of that. I fucking swear all the time.
Yeah.
But like that's me. I'm not going to then censor that, beyond
Right.
reason. Um, I may like, change a spelling, to so that it's not,
Yeah.
saying the but like
The word itself. Yeah.
yeah, I mean I'm a huge fan of Gary V, for much of that, not just for that
Mhm.
reason, but like in his presentation of his content, he is very authentic. And in that,
Yes.
he naturally curses. And similarly, like that is part of who I am. I think that it's, you know, puts an emphasis when needed. But
Mhm.
maybe, not unnecessarily. I, can be buttoned up and presentable when need be. But like, is it worth, curating and, maybe being mindful of when you're posting,
Right.
curse words and stuff like that, because the trade-off may be that you're, being throttled. One of the other ones that I thought was really interesting was all caps.
Oh, I didn't even
Um,
see that.
I don't know that it was listed in here. It may have been in
Oh,
Alex's
okay.
thread. Um, but like, yeah, there was like an all caps kind of highlight.
Oh, right. Because if you read through this, okay, that's just too small to put on screen, but, um, this is saying, like, yeah, he didn't list them all, but,
Yeah.
copy pastas, do not amplify, duplicate, um, hateful conduct,
There's even like a toxicity score.
high toxicity score.
Yeah.
What is
Um,
interstitial?
not sure.
Interstitial development only. Weird. Um,
But yeah, like
low quality. Uh-huh.
misinformation gets flagged. So anyway, yeah, and then like not safe for work content has its own like series of flags. Um, but that's where I think that like we also, that may be true, but then I think like, taking the other day as an example, I think there was a lot of content and videos that were thrown in our face because, not safe for work content that was just like immediately as soon as you open the website, because it's so viral.
Yeah. 'Cause,
And
yeah,
so it's like
yesterday I saw that thing and I did not well, like, why wasn't there a graphic?
there's no warning, there's no label,
There's no
there's nothing
warning.
like
It was just
yeah.
literally just on my feed, and
And
it
yet it's
caused a lot of trauma.
yeah, and yet, it's almost guaranteed being flagged by a number of these flags.
Yeah.
And
Like, if
it's
you
still
if it and it was, like, hours later. So I was like, "Why hasn't Twitter" yeah, like, dealt why didn't they jump on it right away
yeah,
and
or
be
that
like,
it's been throttled or like whatever.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I don't think it's, firm lines, but like again, probably gradients there.
yeah."
But it is interesting. And so like I think especially in relation to, crypto Twitter, something to be mindful of would be the high crypto spam score. Uh
Mhm.
a lot of
Not
the
copy pasta.
yeah, the copy pasta type stuff. And going back to Sam's
Mhm.
tweet, he talks about it a little bit more about kind of your profile score and the
Okay.
user graph.
So him and his brother have millions of subscribers and
He's
followers.
establishing
So
his
like,
credibility.
yeah. Some clusters are formed from a user graph, which two people. Connections like follows, favorites, and engagements carry massive weights, like 10 million for follows. I'm not sure I understand this. To map out behavioral twins. Based on that, it serves your content to a 50-50 mix, which is people already in your network and then strangers in similar clusters. Um, which I can definitely see a lot of that now that I'm doing AVAC stuff. My home timeline for you is literally all AVAX. I know it is for a lot of people too, but it's all I see. So this says tweets and users are embedded in the same space. This means the algorithm isn't just measuring tweets versus tweets, it's capturing your tweet cred score, which is your reputation and a variety of information about what niches you participate in, and then weighing that against other people, not just individual tweets. So essentially, your entire profile is being taken into account every time you tweet, not just the content you're posting. So, like the whole profile. This is why you can make the same tweet as someone else and they'll go viral, but you'll get 3 likes and 100 views because their entire profile is dedicated to distributing that exact information and yours isn't. This is really good information. But according to Grok, the clusters are dynamically updated every 3 weeks to reflect evolving user behaviors and trends. So if you consistently change your content, after about 21 days, the algorithm should start to shift who it's surfacing your content to. A few more tips based on the new algo information we've received is build your tweet cred by staying clean, write for your behavioral cluster, capture attention for more than 2 to 10 seconds,
That was
optimize
another
the
big one.
quotes. Yeah,
It was like if you can engage people for longer than 2 to 3 seconds, and then again at like more than 10 seconds, it gives you like a massive boost.
I mean, I've known this for a while with video content.
Well, but
Um,
like especially in relation to Twitter, that hasn't necessarily always been the case.
True. That's true. Um, optimize for quotes and bookmarks. That was always something that Mikkel talked to me about that a while ago. I had no idea that like the quote posts are they really push more than like reposts or brand new content of the
Yeah.
same type, like
Of
quote
both
tweet and
your
then you've got it.
content and
Yeah.
theirs.
Yeah, but then also quote post your own stuff as
Mhm.
well. And that will then push the one from before because people have to go back to I mean it seems intuitive, but like then hearing it, you're like, "Oh yeah, that makes more sense."
Yeah.
And
But
then
like now we actually
reply.
have the data to back it up.
Yeah, exactly. And reply strategically, not recklessly. I don't know how many times I've been on meetings or talked with people and they're like, "Are you monetized yet?" I'm like, "I'm not." They're like, "Just reply." And I thought, like, I was doing that with a couple of accounts, and I think what I was doing wrong is I was just going into it just to get the engagement. I do like European soccer, European football, sorry. I really do, and F1. However, my intentions were not to spark conversation about European football.
Yeah.
Um, and that was the problem because it didn't keep my attention. I was like, "What am I even doing? This is silly." I did get quite a bit. Um, and then the other one also was like when I did that post about the base creator app or whatever, that got obviously a lot of engagement, but that's not my content. It was just this like viral post. So I know I talked to you about it a lot, but for the audience listening, watching, whatever, um, that can become this issue where you don't know what you wanna post about, and you get something that goes viral, and you're like, "Oh, maybe I should stick with that," but, like, do what you wanna do. I could have millions of followers on TikTok and be the Ogle shirtless lumberjack girl, and or the laugh react girl. Millions. I could have had millions of followers, and I know that because a friend that was doing the same stuff as me has 1.5 million followers, and she laugh reacts videos. She does other things here and there, but like you have to decide what content you're gonna do. I just feel like I just went off on 8 tangents, sorry, but it goes to like the replying strategically, especially if you're trying to monetize, is
Yeah.
like go and do I was talking to Frisk the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, I love movies." And so I was, replying to like movie accounts and really sparking conversation that was getting a lot of views because it was, this massive thing. And I was like, yeah, there's something else I could be doing that is getting a lot of attention. Certainly not my video content on Twitter, but
Well,
um
but I think it just, like you were saying, it goes to what you are naturally, organically interested and engaged in, where you can foster those types of conversations, not just recklessly reply guying to anything and everything for the sake of reply guying.
yeah.
Because then that, on the other side, is probably going to get thrown into the spam filter.
And this idea of the follows, sorry, was there more to what you were saying?
No, I just
Hit a wall.
no.
The follows thing. So I also threw that tweet into ChatGPT. I always try to get like multiple different perspectives on, perspectives from LLMs so that I can learn. And it's saying that like follows are super strong, like meaning people who are following you,
Mhm.
whether or not they're like AI slop follows, right?
I think what it's saying is like that the follow is powerful. Like a
Okay.
if you're talking about that 50-50 split of your following content, and then
Yeah.
kind of the mirror matches that are like the people outside of the people that you follow.
Gotcha.
um that like what determines that feed is strongly determined by those that you follow. And so it's like
Okay.
curating your own following is incredibly impactful, and then obviously those that follow you the same.
So let me show you. So ChatGPT said SIM clusters are little neighborhoods. Instead of just showing your posts randomly, the algorithm groups users together based on behavior, who you follow, what you like, what you reply to. If you and I follow similar accounts and engage with similar stuff, we're in the same cluster. X uses these clusters to figure out who should see your tweets. That's why I think I haven't done as well on Twitter as I was on TikTok because who knows what the fuck I'm even doing on Twitter. Um, but how does the algorithm decide user to user graph? We just talked about that. Behavioral twins. If two people act similarly, X treats them as twins and puts them closer together in the same cluster. Okay. Content distribution. When you post, X sends it out to a 50-50 mix of people already in your network, followers and mutuals, and then people in other clusters that behave like your network. I think this is just explaining it again in a different
Yeah.
way, but
Yeah.
obviously. Why does this kill reach sometimes? Because the algorithm doesn't look at tweets in isolation. It looks at your whole profile, the kind of content you usually post, and what niche your cluster is in. So if your
So
profile isn't aligned with the topic, yeah.
I think this kind of goes to what's his name, Nikita. What's the
Yeah,
guy's?
Nikita Beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
What he was talking about, he had that tweet maybe last week or something like that, where he was
Mhm.
talking about if you post he talked about being like the hyper specialist.
Right.
And if you post, your, 2 cents on whatever topic within your, hyper niche every single day for the next, I think he said 6 months or whatever, but like the
Yeah.
algo shows at a minimum 3 weeks, it's then going to categorize you and push you in that niche.
Mhm.
And I think that, now we're seeing the actual algo reinforcing what he was saying, that
Yeah.
like, if you are consistent, if you are, putting out content within that niche, you can become that, maybe not expert, but like, as far
Yeah.
as the algo is concerned, expert within that niche.
Or somebody
A
posting that
notable voice.
particular
Yeah.
content,
Yeah.
like, all the time, it's gonna go to that. Um, oh, yeah. Um, okay. I probably have, like, maybe 10 more minutes in me.
All good.
What should we talk about?
Is there anything else that
Should
came
we
across your timeline
say,
as of late?
um let me look while I don't have that shared. I think just the AVAX stuff, like, what I think is happening there, um, and I'm gonna say this despite that's not the right word. Despite being an official, like, ambassador doing technical content, um, I think that there's not enough teaching about what it is, and there's just a lot of hype. That's great. That's so great. But, like, when I got into looking at, like, what inversion is and, Santiago, what is his last name? Building inversion, all of these, like, kind of technical things, um, that really were trying to get people outside of native crypto to, like, understand these things.
Oh, Santiago Santos.
Yeah. Um, he like, there's a really cool video about him talking about why he's building on Avalanche. Even like the stuff that I was talking to with um Martin, you know, of course that's not sexy and hype and all of that. Um, but I hope that after all of the hype and all of the vomiting AVAX all over the timeline, that it branches out and that other people are talking about it. We have to teach the teachers.
Well, and
I've always thought that.
I think it's kind of like, yes, hype is not a bad thing, right? Like, and
Right.
having, the entire timeline feed filled with AVAX stuff is obviously a benefit uh to that ecosystem.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's kind of like raising that bar of like, it's based on fundamentals. Like, it's not coming from nothing. It's not just pure empty hype, but that
Yeah.
there is like a foundation of real differentiation in the tech, that there's, a killer team and, builders behind it. And then on your side, building out that network of developers that are building on that tech to then attract, more users, etc. Um, but yeah, at least in my mind, that it's not just empty hot air, that there is some like groundwork of like foundation built there, so that
Yeah.
like, if the hype dies off, it's still, raising that bar, and that there is, a foundation of like real differentiation in the tech.
Yeah. I agree.
Good stuff.
And I also think like, for example, the Toshi Bet stuff. I think they're doing it all so right because it may be cringe to some people, but like we've talked about, it's fun. I don't see the difference between like meme coins. I do see the difference because like the Toshi Bet stuff is very different. And, sitting and like playing some slots or like playing blackjack for, 20 cents a bet, like you're you're having fun. It's good, clean Christian fun. But what was my point? just that they have these, like, ambassadors that are doing this, and I'm in the ambassador chat, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and not in, like, the meme coin way where, like, people are trying to pump stuff. It's literally just people just like, "Look at what happened. We were playing Plinko and this thing happened," or like, "I just got, owned on this bet," or whatever. I don't know. It's just like it's just fun, but people find it cringe because you're, like, supporting something that's just gambling, and I'm like, "What are we all doing here in the first place is gambling," but, I don't know what my point was. Just
Different shades of
I
what you perceive as gambling. But yeah,
yeah,
in that is the truest sense gambling.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, like and there's a huge airdrop, and people should just use my link in my bio. Uh, yeah. So anything coming up that we can talk about or clip up or oh, my computer is on fire. Um, I know I've got that AVAC space tomorrow. I'm gonna be clipping up a lot of the stuff that I've done recently, and doing some I do have a what the fuck is Stable coin? What is this Stable coin?
That'll be good. I've got some gaming streams later on, like
Oh, yeah.
this evening into this weekend. A lot of
Now wait, is Lee more animated than you are? Because BGF.
while
You gotta,
while
like, say
gaming.
shit.
Well, yeah, well, and it depends on the game too, because like this game is all about that kind of like like the dynamics of
Okay.
playing off of each other.
Like, where you're saying stuff to each other and you're like, "Get him!"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
'Cause I've
Because
heard
like
you
in Battlefield, it's a highly competitive, PvP style game,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like my natural inclination in a game like that is to like lock in and try and
yeah,
perform as well as I can.
yeah.
um this is a very different style of game, so
Cool.
it is more about the like the engagement with each other, the banter. It's a lot more of a like lively and fun game
Good.
in that way.
We
And
want
I think
lively banter.
yeah, and I think in that way it makes a little bit better of a viewing experience.
Yes.
And like as I had touched on at the beginning of the stream, like we're going to be doing some cool stuff on the tech side that I think will make it really compelling and interesting to
Yeah.
view the different POVs. Um,
Have
and then
you
yeah,
figured out how to go from, like, scene to scene where you can, like, switch? Because that's why I was trying to
mhm,
do, like I don't wanna just have a live stream where, like, we're looking at the screen looks like a Zoom call. Like, I
mhm.
wanna flip it back to, like, this two-person conversation and then go back to a screen share, and then, like, you wanna be able to break it up a little bit. Are you gonna
Yeah,
be doing that?
a little bit, but that's going to be more dependent on like when people jump in and out of the stream, or if I'm streaming solo, or with a co-host, or
Yeah.
like co-streamer. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. And then yes, like in addition to like that's more so the documentation of the gaming content type stuff, a little different than my crypto content. But next week we will be
Yeah.
having some more interview style content as
Cool.
well, that I'll be like clipping up and doing all that kind of stuff. So that'll be good.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for watching Build in Public
Go
with
team.
your favorites, the Brooke J. Lacey VGF team.
Go team.
No, we are not your Web3 mom and dad. I'm sorry. Listen, someone called us that once and we were like, "No, thank you." I found it funny. It's not funny. We're just us. All right. Signing off. Oh, someone left us a comment. Oh, it was Fafo. Fucking around and finding out. Bye. And